Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So, on today's episode, I've got an episode that I wish I was able to watch at the beginning of my Commander career. We're going to be talking about Commander deck building, my biggest mistakes, and how I'm going to help you avoid them. So, first up, mistake number one. Going all in can backfire. It is a lot of fun to go in on a certain type of strategy or a certain type of mechanic, but when you do so, you kind of leave yourself wide open. And the, example that I'm going to be bringing up is a simple one. Let's just take Reclamation Sage as an example. A 2/1 Elf Shaman for 3 mana enters the battlefield. You may destroy target artifact or enchantment now. This is a very fun card, and it can be very good, obviously. As an ETB, you can use and abuse it in a variety of ways, and also it's creature-centric. So if you've got, a deck built around creatures, that's awesome. That's amazing. Maybe you've got a Nikya of the Old Ways deck, hey, you can't cast non-creature spells. Awesome, okay, I use all the creatures then. Cool. And I also get to double up my mana, which is a just giant, awesome, amazing thing. Or maybe you've got a Yark the Desecrated deck, and you're like, okay, I get to use and abuse ETBs, so everything I have is going to be an ETB, which is, something that might seem like a great idea at the time, and it can be a lot of fun, obviously, but you leave yourself wide open. Even though Yark is amazing and doubles up your ETBs, if someone happens to say play, a Torpor Orb, or, any of the other cards that do this exact same thing, which there are multiple of, you are entirely shut down. An artifact 4/2, creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger, so obviously Reclamation Sage, and again, every other creature ETB you have in the deck, if you built the entire deck around ETBs, which again is a lot of fun to do, you kind of leave yourself wide open to a strategy where, just one card shut down my entire deck. And the ironic thing again is Reclamation Sage would be able to destroy an artifact, except that it's an ETB, so I can't do that. So again, it can be a lot of fun to just heavily invest into one certain type of strategy or one certain type of mechanic. But if you kind of go overboard, which I have in the past, and it is still a lot of fun to do, you definitely can leave yourself wide open to getting blown out in the other direction where, it can backfire on you. Just by someone playing one simple card, your entire strategy can just go out the window. So do be careful on going all in. Maybe, in this case, have, an instant or sorcery or 2 or 3 or 4 that actually, act as removal as well for you. Next up, let's talk about dork dependence is what I'm going to be calling this, and how it definitely can be a mistake in certain aspects of Commander, I will say. There are definitely times where utilizing dorks in your deck can be really good and really cool for you. Absolutely. Like an elf-based deck, Llanowar Elves, obviously they're kind of like a match made in heaven. You're going to have things that are going to benefit the Llanowar Elves, so it's not just a small little 1/1. Or, it benefits that you have a number of elves in play, etc., etc. That being said, yes, Llanowar Elves is incredibly efficient. A 1/1 Elf Druid for a single green mana, it taps for a green. This is very fast ramp. That being said, essentially outside of CEDH, I would be careful on your dependence to mana dorks, because in CEDH, there aren't nearly as many just creature-based board wipes. Like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, wipe the board. That's typically not what you're going to be doing. You're trying to combo off super early, and you're going to have counterspells and things like that as well. I'm not saying that there are no Wraths played, but there's a lot more Wraths played in more casual games out there. And because of that, again, you can get wiped out. All of that time, all of that investment, if you have all of your ramp resources being in mana dorks, you're gonna be in trouble. You are gonna get blown out at some point where, I'm way ahead of everyone else. I've got 12 ramp. Awesome, I've got so much mana. And then someone casts a board wipe, and all of a sudden you're down to, 5 mana or 4 mana, and your deck isn't functioning properly at all, and everyone else is way ahead of you because someone just cast a simple spell. So yes, here's the thing about Commander that can be a bit annoying to some. Rampant Growth is so much better. A sorcery for 2 mana in total. Search your library for a basic land card. Put that card onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. Why is it so much better? Because lands are protected in Commander. And that's just a reality of casual Commander, where the vast majority of Commander players out there do not want to play against mass land destruction or mass land disruption, essentially. So because of that, because lands are basically sacred in Commander, yeah, it's free, resource, basically. It is a resource that is protected. It is a resource that you can depend on having it around, even though, yes, it costs 1 more mana than your Land of Elves, and you can't attack with it or whatnot. Yeah, you just care about ramping. And when it comes to ramping, efficiency is great, but also it is a protected commodity when it is a land, and you want that and you need that so you don't get blown out. So that when you are ramping and getting ahead of your opponents, you can stay ahead of them. So if you have access to green, you should be focusing the vast majority of your ramp, I'm not saying every single time, but the vast majority of the time, on land ramp. And sure, if you want to go crazy with something like a wild growth, yeah, that also can be utilized too, but be careful with that as well. I'd say it's a bit safer than a mana dork, even though. In order for a single green mana enchant land, whenever an enchant land is tapped for mana, its controller adds additional green. Now, in some ways this is riskier, but in other ways it is safer. Again, it's on an enchantment which is hardier, but that enchantment is attached to a land, so if that land gets dealt with, that's a 2-for-1 and you lose out on that. That being said, again, it is a faux pas to destroy someone's land, even if it is enchanted in a way for the most part. So, yeah, it is kind of a gray area in that, but just, stick with the rampant growths for the most part, again, if you don't want to get blown out by, again, a Wrath of God, taking out all of your mana dorks. So again, dork dependence is something that can be learned the hard way, where you're like, oh, I want to ramp the most efficient way possible, the fastest way possible. Oh yeah, this is like on a lot of CDH lists. It must be very good. Well, that's because CDH doesn't have nearly as much wraths in it, typically, as a casual format does. So again, you are going to get blown out, it is going to feel bad, and all of your friends are going to have much more mana than you when you should have the most mana because you are playing green. Use the rampant growths. Next up, another lesson that I learned the hard way. Well, I built an entire deck, about equivalent exchange. Full Metal Alchemist, anyone? Okay. Anyways, exchanging is stealing, is what this one is going to be called. Role Reversal is a very cool card. I like it a lot. Sorcerer 3 mana and is it? Exchange control of 2 target permanents that share a permanent type. Now, utilizing a card like this in a deck, I'm not saying that you can't do that. I'm saying that you should be cautious when you build an entire deck around exchanging and you use literally every single exchange card out there. In your deck basically just becomes, I steal your things. Yes, I'm giving you something. That something that I give you, though, might be worthless, essentially, or something that you really don't want, or something that I'm just going to get back. I built an entire deck around this, and I thought, I'm being clever. I'm getting around the players don't like to play against people stealing their things. No, I'm not, because players also don't like when you exchange all their things as well. They like to be able to utilize their game plan without you just taking their things and giving you garbage. Premakan Sky Rampart was the commander I built this around, and yeah, the thought process made sense, right? A 1/5 flying defender that costs 3 mana, enters battlefield, choose left or right. Each player may attack only the nearest opponent in the chosen direction. The Planeswalker is controlled by the opponent. Basically, this is a creature, this is a commander that enters the battlefield, its job is done. It literally did exactly what you want to do. It says, we're only attacking in this direction. Cool. So if I exchange this with someone else's much better creature, let's say, cool, you've got a 1/5 flying defender that already did what I want to do in the direction that I want to do it in, and I got your best creature. Oh, and by the way, actually, things have changed now. I want to change the direction of that, so let's blink it with Long Road Home. I'm going to exile target creature again. Yeah, you control it, but I'm exiling it. Beginning the next end step, it comes back and play under its owner's control. Not who just had it, its owner's control. So I get it back. So I literally just gave you something that I am now ungifting you, and I'm keeping the thing that I stole. So, or should I say exchange? But yeah, basically stole. So again, essentially the deck did become something along the lines of a send triplets type deck, which is kind of a no-no for the most part for most playgroups out there. Again, the salt score on this is very high. I would say that there was a lot of saltiness at the table when I was playing my equivalent exchange deck. Even though, again, it goes about it in a different way. Yeah, role reversal and cards like it are exchange cards, and they're probably fine in small quantities, but when you build an entire deck around exchanging and you're trying to convince yourself that this isn't really stealing, no, it's basically stealing. You're basically stealing, and you're going to make players salty by doing so. Next up, another way to make players salty. Well, I'm calling this one playing by myself, or, you might call it solitaire. An example of this is an episode where I did a while back where I talked about the one deck I will not play anymore. I still have the deck, and yes, that's kind of, I guess, overstating it. I do play it. very, very rarely, only when I ask if it's okay, and only when everyone is playing their highest power deck out there and is completely fine with someone playing a solitaire type strategy. I'm talking about my Droider deck, basically Artifact Storm. Now, when I first built it, it was the deck that I spent the most time on out of all of my decks. It was probably the most tuned deck of all time that I ever built, and I spent so much time just nitpicking every single individual card in it, and I was so proud of the Rube Goldberg machine that I built, and I was so excited about it because I am a Johnny. I'm a Johnny player, and essentially that is exactly what I want to do. So after I put this incredibly intricate deck together, well, I took it to a local LGS, and I was so excited, and I played it against some players. I told them kind of what the deck did ahead of time. They're like, oh yeah, sure, okay, cool, yeah, artifacts, all right, awesome. And I don't think they necessarily realized maybe exactly the extent of it, and I don't blame them for that. And I probably didn't either because, well, I ended up taking a probably 20-minute turn. Yes, I did win at the end of it, but, yeah, bouncing my cards back to my hand with Hercule's Recall, bouncing all the artifacts I control back to my hand, having a card like Semblance Anvil in play, exiling, of course, an artifact, making all my artifacts cost 2 less, and then recasting cards like Sabo's Web. Yes, this card, this very weird, obnoxious card. Enters the battlefield, draw a card. Each land with activated ability that isn't a main ability doesn't untap your controller's untap step. Yeah, that part really doesn't matter all that much. You literally just want all the artifacts that, cost 2 or less and say, ETB, draw a card. And so essentially you're like, okay, I bounce the artifacts back to my hand. I play all my artifacts for free. I draw all of these cards. And I played all of these mana rocks as well. They cost 2. They're also free, so I get more mana again. And then I cast Rebuild. And then I do it again, bouncing all the artifacts back to my hand. And while I'm doing this, I'm drawing even more cards thanks to my commander. And then, maybe I've got a way to get Hercule's Recall back and then do it again. And again. And again. So yes, even though I built this thing that I was incredibly proud of, and I just thought that it was the coolest thing, and that it is just so tuned, and I spent so much time on it, at the end of the day, I was just completely monopolizing all the time in the commander game. Every single minute, once that turn started, was just me doing things, my opponents doing absolutely nothing, and them just having, well, the joy come off of their faces, just seeing the terror of what was going on, and just seeing that, oh, okay, this is what this is going to be now. All right, I mean, technically he hasn't won yet, but let's see if he wins. We'll see, I guess. It's going to take a while. Okay. Yeah, don't build a solitaire deck unless you are, well, 100% sure that you're going to have a play group that is 100% fine with it, and that they are most definitely fine with it and not just trying to be nice with you. Next up, another lesson that I learned is that just because you built a deck in the most, well, efficient way for that deck doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And in this example is going to be called Too Many Wraths. Literally, just too many wraths. There is no official limit to the amount of wraths that you can use in a deck. There isn't. There is no written law out there in Commander that says, hey, at the most you can have 10 wraths, okay? There is not at all. That being said, some things go unsaid, and yeah, one of my mistakes with one of my very first decks I ever built was to include like 20 plus wraths in the deck. I literally just like, you know what, this is the efficient play. This is, what this is supposed to do. I want to control the board. I don't really need a board presence, and I'm just going to keep destroying the board because I don't want people to do anything to me. So get rid of all your creatures again, and again, and again, and again. Fumigate, great, cool, I gained some life. Awesome, good for me to destroy creatures. I'm including this and, again, 19 other wraths. And because my commander's Selene Archangel, which is a very weird commander, players don't know necessarily what to expect from it, cool, I'm just going to get this out. Oh, okay, cool, yeah, you know what? I don't like things right now. I'm going to wrath things, so I'll pay 2 life, bring it back to my hand. And of course, with this kind of a strategy, well, I'm actually just trying to control my life total so I can control the board until I'm ready to get my life total down to basically nothing with this right before my turn, because you can repeat that action. You can pay 2 life in response again and again and again to bounce it back to your hand to basically set your life total down to either 2 or 1, depending on if you're an odd or even amount. So then you basically go, okay, cool, access mortality on my upkeep. I have 2 target players exchange life totals. This was fun. Great. Didn't everyone have a good time? It's really cool, right? I'm exchanging life totals. That's fun. But to do that, I literally have to just cast wrath after wrath after wrath, even weird ones like this one. Planar Outburst, cool, all right. I can awaken it, I guess. All right, destroy all non-land creatures, cool. All I need to do, literally, though, is just control the board for such a long time. Again, I am not actually, I'm not solitaring, right? I'm not playing by myself. I'm not just sitting over there and just playing Artifact Storm and making other people watch me. What I am doing is elongating the game to the point that players get bored. Because literally they try to build things back up, I tear them back down. They build things back up, I tear them back down. And I am waiting to get to the perfect spot where I can actually finally utilize my game plan. But it's taken absolutely forever because, again, I've cast so many board wipes. So essentially, yeah, there is no official rule against using too many refs, but I would say there's a general rule of thumb. Yeah, don't use like more than, 10 is still a lot. But yeah, definitely don't use 20 like I did. Learn from my mistakes, and even if it's the most efficient play, again, literally a Planeswalker strategy, if you've got a Super Friends deck, if you've got a Planeswalker as a commander, and you don't care about your board that much when it comes to creatures, even if it's the most efficient play for you in deck building, do not do it, because you will see your opponents fall asleep at the table because it's a boring strategy. You should just keep wiping the board again and again and again and again and again. Next up, I'm going to be calling this one Trying Too Hard to Make Fetch Happen. Mean Girls? Anyone? No? Okay. Fanatic of Mogus. This was a card that I wanted to build an entire deck around. Just literally this card. And I am guilty of that, where I like to build decks just around specific cards, and we'll talk about another one here in a little bit. But I was like, you know what? Okay. Fanatic of Mogus as basically the only finisher of the deck. This is what this deck wants to do. That's all it wants to do. Get Fanatic of Mogus out. Maybe have some ways to use that ETB blanket, basically. But yeah, finish opponents off with a big, fun Devotion Fireball, basically. ETB deals damage to each opponent equal to Devotion to red. So again, that's the red pips. Fanatic of Mogus only has one pip. It's kind of like the red Gary in a way, but it's not nearly as good. It's still fun, though. That being said, I was like, you know what? Okay, I want a commander that doesn't get in the way of this. I want a commander that is, well, actually, you know what? Hard to deal with itself, and that can actually go into the strategy by helping get out Fanatic of Mogus. I also need something that allows me to utilize certain types of cards, which I'll get to here in a little bit. So I decided on an Is It strategy around Karanos, God of Storms, which unfortunately helps with one pip. You know, that's okay for Devotion, but still, this one also cares about Devotion too, so I can actually activate it, make it into a creature. It also gives me card advantage off the top, ping some things as well. That's quite nice. But yeah, it worked a little bit into that. And essentially, what I was trying to do is, polymorph. I was trying to essentially just utilize all these different kinds of polymorph type cards to get Fanatic of Mogus. Here's the thing, though, and this is a strategy that definitely can work. It's just one that you kind of, if you want to go really far into the Devotion game and get a lot of Devotion out there, you might be utilizing some really jank cards. And that is completely fine to utilize some really jank cards, but you can also just go over the edge just a little bit when you're trying to do so. And you're like, when I'm trying to decide if I want Power Surge in my deck or not, you might have a problem. Enchant for 2 red. During each player's upkeep, it deals 1 damage to that player for each land they control that was untapped beginning of the turn before the untap phase. Here's the thing. Mana burn isn't a thing anymore. So this literally doesn't matter because you just tap all your lands right before your turn and then it's not going to ping you. Literally, the only reason this would be in the deck is because, well, I want to get some Devotion out there, and I do. And I'm desperate enough to maybe even utilize this, or Awaken the Ancient. When you're considering Awaken the Ancient for a deck, you maybe should just think about that deck again. Although there are definitely times where this could matter, but yeah, Enchanted Mountain, it's a 7/7. Okay, so you're just leaving your land open. It's nice that it's like you can swing with it. It's cool, yeah, I'm sure there are decks that use it, but like, you're leaving yourself open to lose one of your lands just with a Wrath or anything then. Okay. So it can definitely backfire on you. Now, there are some better cards that you can utilize. Obviously, this is just an example of one where I went really hard into this Fanatic of Mogus deck. I was trying super hard to make it work. I was trying all these different things. I was including cards that I probably shouldn't have included because, well, sometimes you can go just a bit too jank. Just a bit too jank trying to make it work when maybe I should have gone a different direction. Maybe I should have gone with a different commander. Maybe I should have gone with a different concept. Maybe I should have just used Gary because Gary is, well, better than Fanatic of Mogus. No offense to Fanatic of Mogus, but there's a lot of different things I maybe should have done and maybe should have been okay with, scrapping the deck idea a bit earlier than I did. But there's definitely times when you can go down a rabbit hole and it takes a lot of time to figure out that, well, I need to turn back around and get out of this rabbit hole. Next up, on the opposite end of things, when things go a bit too well, that also might be a problem with this one that I'm calling Some Doors Should Stay Shut. And yes, they should. Now, I have been an advocate that certain things, certain cards out there, which just makes sense to be commanders, should be commanders. Because lore-wise, the Nephilim, there's only one of them each, and they're like giant godlike beings, basically. So it's like, that makes no sense that they're legendary, that they're not legendary, I should say. Makes absolutely no sense. And also, they're pretty cool. The problem is, when you actually build around Ink Treader Nephilim, you kind of don't maybe realize exactly how absurd it is, and how, again, maybe you shouldn't do that. And I actually have built around this twice. First, I asked my playgroup if it was okay if I treated this as a legendary creature, as a commander, and just build around it itself. And apparently I didn't learn my lesson from that. Anyways, it's a 3/3 Nephilim for every color, basically but black, 4 mana in total. When every player plays an instant sorcery spell, if Ink Treader Nephilim is the only target of the spell, you copy it for each other creature that spell could target. Each copy targets it for those creatures. Basically, this is Zada, but for every creature on the board and in 4 colors. So, yeah, that's really cool. It's really unique, and it's a bit more powerful than you might think. Now, again, I built it once. And I said, you know what? Okay. My playgroup was very kind to me, and they said, yeah, you can build around it, even though it's not legendary. We'll pretend it is. Great, cool, good for you. I then did it a second time, because I was like, you know what? I'm going to prove that I can do this even without, it's not cheating, but, we're staying within the rules of Commander. So, I used Eska, God of the Tree, or should I say, Prismatic Bridge, to make it into an actual legal Commander deck. Where now, Ink Treader Nephilim is in the 99. It's the only creature, though, so again, at the beginning of my upkeep, cards get revealed at the top of the library until I reveal a creature or Planeswalker. And how many Planeswalkers? Just one creature. Goes right to the battlefield. And essentially, again, this is a way that if you can get Prismatic Bridge in play, and if you can just get that trigger off once, I realize that you just literally win the game right then and there. You literally just win the game. This might be a more powerful build, actually, than literally just using Ink Treader Nephilim as the commander, because as long as you can protect the Prismatic Bridge, then on that turn you get Ink Treader in play, you have access to all your mana. And because of that, it's basically impossible to stop you from winning. It is basically impossible. Okay, it's not impossible. Nothing's impossible in Magic, but it is incredibly difficult for your opponents to ever stop you from winning, because at that point that you get this out, even if you haven't been getting any, token creatures into play, which you do have ways to get token creatures into play, right? Because you don't have any actual other creatures in the deck. Even if you've got that, essentially, your opponents most likely have creatures in play, because you're playing a game of Commander, and typically players fill the board. So, it's very kind of them, but now that there's 10 creatures in play, I'm just going to cast Leap for a single mana, targeting Ink Treader. Alright, that creature gains flying until end of turn. Don't care. Everything gets flying. I draw a card. 1 per each creature on the board. So I just drew 10 cards for a single mana. Ancestral Recall, eat your heart out. So all of a sudden, I've got an absurd amount of card advantage. I just drew 10 cards. And again, if an opponent tries to counter this, well, okay, good for you. I've got another one for 1 mana as well, because there's so many low-to-the-ground cantrips that target, there's an absurd amount. Okay, so I'll just do that one instead. Another counter spell? Okay, I'll do another one. Doesn't matter, I'm going to be drawing 10 cards at some point at least. And then I'm going to cast something like Sudden Breakthrough. And this kind of really broke the thing where all of a sudden we started getting these cards that, well, now target, and also make a treasure when they do so. Plus 2/0 First Strike is nice as well, but this makes a treasure. So again, literally, if there are 10 creatures in play, you just spent 2 mana to make 10 treasures, which come into play untapped, and you can utilize that mana right away. You see where this is going. I am just going to cast a spell that draws me 10 cards. I'll cast another spell that makes me 10 more treasures. I'm going to cast another spell that actually doubles up the number of creatures on the board, essentially. And then I'm going to do it again, and again, and again. And I'm basically going to draw my entire deck, or essentially whatever I want to draw. I'm going to steal everyone's creatures, and I'm going to do all these other absurd things. And essentially, again, it is nearly impossible to stop. Literally, if you just get Prismatic Bridge out and it triggers once, you get Ink Treader from play, and you just win the game. And that's kind of where some doors should just stay closed. Where, yeah, you kind of need to learn from your mistakes the first time, number 1. But number 2, some things are a bit too pushed or a bit too powerful for your playgroup, or they might just not be a fun way for you to actually play the game. You're literally just trying to, okay, I get my, secret commander out, and then I win. That is literally what the game is. You just have a mini game of just, can I get Ink Treader Nephilim out? Okay, I did. I win the game. Literally no input from your opponents. You don't care what they do as long as, well, you've got enough, 1 mana cantrippy draw spells to get around whatever counter spells they might have. You just win the game. And because of that, well, again, some doors could stay shut. Moving on, next up, well, I'm calling this one, don't just add value, finish. Do not just value add. Stop just going, okay, I'm going to build up my board more and more and more. I'm going to get more lands. I'm going to get more card draw. You actually need some finishers for your deck. You actually need to do that. Death to the Deathless is a good example of a card that literally is just a finisher. I mean, okay, like you can utilize it in like, life gain 2 or whatnot, but like it's an amazing finisher. Sorcery for X and Orzhov colors, 4 mana of that. Each opponent loses 2 times X life. You gain life, your life levels this way. A great finisher. There's plenty of other great ones as well, and you can do it with creatures, Crater Hoof Behemoth type things, or you can do it with, well, decking people if you really want to go within mill, or again like this, or Exsanguinate. There's a lot of different ways to finish off the game, alternative win conditions. Just make sure you have a plan to do so. Don't just sit around and keep adding value, and again, utilizing like a 10 plus wrath strategy. We're like, all right, everyone have a good time? We've been playing for 3 hours. Please stop. Yeah, so again, like you have a certain number of explosive vegetations, but should you be playing an explosive vegetation on turn 12? Probably not. Do you need a Mind Unbound in play on top of your Phyrexian Arena? Probably not at a certain point. You've got enough card advantage. You've got enough, ramp in play. You've got enough all these other things. Actually have things in your deck that finish out the game. If you've got a Scoop Mob, that's amazing. That's fun. It builds up throughout the game, right? Find a way to give it trample. Find a way to get it through. Don't just have essentially oh, cool, yeah, 4 more counters on Scoop Mob. All right, cool. It's it's 17-17. Okay, I swing. Oh, you chump block with a little 1/1 token? Okay. All right, pass turn. I guess I'm not getting through with my Scoop Mob. Find ways to finish your opponents off. Have finishers, have a game plan. Don't just value add and sit around. Don't just battle cruise. I mean, battle cruising can work, obviously, but like, don't just battle cruise without a purpose. Have the purpose, have the finishers, and finish the game. And finally, and most simply, I think nearly everyone's been guilty of this at one time or the other. Stop cutting lands. Stop it. Please, stop it. Have an amount of lands set out that you are going to build that deck around ahead of time, that you're thinking about, okay, this deck is probably like 36, 37. That's probably a safe number. Maybe it's a landfall type strategy. You're going to need a little bit more than that. Have an amount of lands in mind. Build the deck, and then when you are adding things to that deck later and you're making cuts for it, don't just be like, well, a really exciting card came out. I guess I'm going to take out a forest. And then next set comes out, 2 more exciting cards to this deck came out. All right, mountain goes, there goes a swamp. Yeah, be careful, because you're going to end up, which many players have, with like 28 lands in a deck that start off with 37. And you're going to be like, why am I still shuffling this, trying to get like a decent hand to start things off? It's because you cut all of your lands. Please stop. And no, just replacing, a land with ramp does not solve the issue. You need land still, especially basics as well. And when players have like things that punish opponents for having a bunch of non-basics, I don't feel bad for the player who has no basics in play and they are getting super punished by a price of progress because, well, play more basics. Play more basics and stop cutting your lands down to nothing, please. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.